Morning, Charles. How fickle Twitter has become. Are you looking at alternatives like bluesky or something else? Guys, after we get the partner chain framework put together, we're going to figure out a way to solve the social network problem. I'm done with centralized social networks. I like Elon Musk today has a commitment to freedom of speech and expression. I'm not naive enough to believe that is absolute, and I'm not naive enough to believe that I'm always going to be on the right side of it. The problem is you live and die by whether that guy gets up on the left side of the bed or the right side of the bed. And I'm sorry to say that that's not sustainable. And we've already seen what's happened with Meta. We've already seen what's happened with YouTube. You cannot deviate from the trust institutions that they have picked as their anchors. And no freedom of expression or thought is allowed. And we're doubling down in the age of AI as well. So all this alignment training, what they're really saying is under the hood, yes, we don't want you to use AI to make chemical weapons and bombs and rah, rah, rah. Oh, but also we don't want you to talk to AI and have a conversation about politics we disagree with. It's in the training data. And 95% of the people who are training and building these types of things lean in one particular political direction that is blinding them to political diversity. It's an echo chamber. I'm deeply, deeply concerned about the convergence of those two things. Super intelligent AI with the current censorship regimes of social media. So the good news is we actually know and have a blueprint as an industry and then internally for a really good social network. And there's a lot of infrastructure that have to be built for it, but we're already building a lot of it. Governance systems, identity systems, these are foundational. Prism is really the heart of these types of things. Privacy preserving systems, that's midnight. So there's a lot there. So it does make a lot of sense to pursue it with a partner chain at some point. We just don't have the time and the resources at the moment. As an entrepreneur, you're often defined by the things you say no to as opposed to the things you say yes to. And as important as this topic is, we just have too much to do at the moment. That's not going to be the case in the future. It's going to become front and center. And it's an area that I'd like to bring to the not just Cardano ecosystem, but across the totality of the cryptocurrency space. And I have a really good idea on how to do that. There's just a few missing pieces, and we'll have to approach it from a first principles. So what we're going to do is we're going to write a series of papers at some point on foundational concerns and really break it down and really run it through a product viewpoint, and then really think about the user experience and the information architecture and try to relate it to all the innovations that have occurred in the personal knowledge management world, like the stuff that's happened with Obsidian, the stuff that's going on with maps of content and linked notes and linked knowledge, these types of things, really connect that there. Connect it to the veracity systems we've talked about, and then also all the desires about how people consume content and monetize content. And there's a lot of NFT opportunities here as well. And at the same time, I think what Musk did combining Grok and Twitter made a lot of sense. You do need to combine an LLM with these types of systems because that's where you get your training from. So a decentralized LLM, decentralized social network, definitely coming to the partner chains framework, and it's going to be a big fight. This political year too is going to be the most brutal of our lifetime. 2024 is it's just not going to be a pretty election. There's deep fakes galore. Already happened to me, and I'm just me, right? I'm not a big guy. So at the highest levels, with the highest level of technology, the kinds of crap that's going to come out in the October surprise is going to be unbelievable. And people are just angry. There's a non-zero possibility we're going to get to November where a candidate wins who's in prison. First time in American history. There's a non-zero probability of that. Trump is currently skating towards winning the Republican nomination, and because of the nature of the locations where he's been charged with crimes, there's a very strong possibility he's going to be convicted of several felonies that require jail time, prison time. I'm sorry, you cannot get a fair trial in Washington, D.C. or New York. It's just not possible if you're a Republican like Trump. 90% Democrat and a seething hatred, Trump is Hitler. There's no reality that he's going to get a fair trial. People have already made up their mind, already have a strong opinion. They will lie to be on the jury that convicts him. It is what it is. This is how governments operate. That's why you don't arrest political opponents. So he'll get convicted, and unless the Supreme Court says he's immune, he's going to then go into sentencing. And there's a possibility, if that happens fast enough, that actually he's in a prison cell by the time that he wins the election, if he wins the election. That is our reality this year. That's not healthy for a constitutional republic. It's not healthy for any semblance of a government that wants to have strong institutions and rule of law. And no one can convince me otherwise. You don't arrest your political opponents. This is what dictators do. It's what every banana republic does. And we have a separate set of standards for people that occupy that particular political class. I understand that there are grievances, and I understand that other people feel that this man is literally Hitler. To me, he's always been a P.T. Barnum. It translates to exceedingly negative consequences to society as a whole, and the reaction is going to be a victim culture and censorship culture that we've never seen. People are going to get exceedingly aggressive with their actions and their statements. They're going to be censored, and they're going to get even more aggressive with their actions and statements because they feel that basically all the tech companies are in on it. And they kind of sort of were in on it with vaccines and COVID and all the medical stuff that flowed through. You were not allowed on Facebook to have the opinion that COVID was made in a lab in 2020. That was medical misinformation. You were not allowed to have that opinion. And now the FBI in the United States is saying that there's strong evidence that that is the case. We remember. Okay. So we need to get our freedoms back, and it's not good enough complaining about it. And believe me, just electing the Orange Goblin is not going to solve any problems. It's just going to mean the other side now gets to beat up, and they're going to be just as vicious and brutal. And a lot of people are going to get arrested if Trump becomes president. There's no healing in this. There's no reconciliation in this. This is not a healthy society. What we have to do is take these powers back as people, and we have to begin moderating again and slowing down and de-escalating and de-escalating and de-escalating, okay? Stop arresting people. Stop burning people to the ground. Stop deplatforming people. Start listening to people. It's basic concepts, right? But we're not allowed to do that right now because all of these power structures are basically getting dug in, and they're going to war with each other. So decentralization would help solve this. And so I think it's a national priority that we get decentralized LLMs and decentralized social networks, or else they're going to be weaponized and be part of this conflict, and it'll escalate until it gets out of control.